Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh Shah, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Kurha Kadash. All praises, honor, glory, love, respect, faith, and power, and trust, and all credit to my Heavenly Father, Yahweh, and my Heavenly Big Brother, Yahweh Shah. Thank you so much for what you've done, what you're doing, what you're going to do. Double honors to the apostles and elders and bishops of GMS, Great Millstone, who I learned from, and all the men scattered all over the world, teaching this truth and none but the truth in the name, spirit, and the power of Yahweh Bashim Shah. Trying to put a spiritual bug in you Hebrew Israelites' ears, you so-called blacks, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, and the Indians, and you speckled birds. And what is a speckled bird? That'd be a Hebrew Israelite that look like some of the heathen nations, like, for example, a Hebrew Israelite that look like a so-called white person, or so-called Chinese person, or so-called Indian person, etc., etc. Got some videos lined up about this oil crisis that's going on around the world. A lot of countries, a lot of nations are being affected by whatever's going on with the prices of oil and diesel, gas, all that shit. Anyway, I'm going to play these videos. I'm going to get into the scripture my best ability. Say whatever I got to say through spirit and power. Yahweh Shema Shah, the Holy Spirit, the Kurhak, the Dash, Lord, want to be on me. Let's get it.
Pakistan stands dangerously close to a complete standstill as the severe fuel and economic crisis boils over. Fueled by aggressive petroleum levies, daily price revisions, and soaring inflation, public outrage has broken past a tipping point. Vital arteries in Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad, and Peshawar have seen massive disruptions, pushing the country into near paralysis. The epicenter of the crisis lies in the crippling cost of energy. Following relentless hikes that push petroleum products to historic highs, Freight and Public Transport Associations launched aggressive countermeasures. The All Pakistan Goods Transport Alliance initiated an indefinite wheel jam strike, parking tens of thousands of heavy vehicles after breakdown talks with state ministries. Transporters are rejecting daily diesel rate fluctuations and punishing toll tax hikes, demanding immediate fiscal relief. While mass transit systems like Metroline struggle to maintain schedules amid supply shortages and security roadblocks, intercity mobility has effectively fractured. For ordinary consumers, the prolonged strikes translate into an unbearable economic squeeze. With heavy transport paralyzed, supply chains have snapped. It has triggered an immediate surge in the prices of essential commodities like vegetables, flour, and dairy. Daily wage earners and salaried households bear the heaviest brunt. They face rising daily commute costs and inflated school van fees as operators pass down the burden of exorbitant fuel prices. As political opposition groups mobilize widespread sit-ins and threaten further escalations, the government faces mounting pressure. Unless a sustainable compromise on fuel pricing and taxation is reached immediately, Pakistan risks a prolonged economic blackout that could cripple its working class further.
An exception under Washington's oil embargo against Cuba is allowing U.S. firms to export fuel to private businesses on the island, creating a chaotic black market and introducing limited elements of capitalism into Havana's tightly controlled energy sector. Oil shipments from Cuba's traditional suppliers, Venezuela and Mexico, ended abruptly after the United States ousted Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro in January. With U.S. Coast Guard cutters patrolling nearby waters and sanctions deterring tankers, the island has faced severe shortages. The embargo has badly disrupted essential state-run services, including healthcare, public transport, and schools. Yet under a Commerce Department exception, a trickle of gasoline and diesel is now reaching private restaurants, retailers, and taxis, the first significant landings of American fuel since Fidel Castro nationalized refineries after the 1959 revolution. Some of that fuel is being resold on the black market, helping those who can afford it keep vehicles running and power home generators during blackouts. It has also kept some water pumps operating. Black market prices peaked at around $10 a liter earlier this year, before easing as imports increased. While offering limited relief, the system is widening wealth disparities. The roughly 900,000 barrels of U.S. fuel imported between February and May were enough to meet Cuba's energy needs for only about 9 days.
As for the state-run sector, public transportation doesn't work. so the entire town has to rely on private transportation, which is usually more expensive because the oil they obtain is available in limited quantities, and it's much more expensive to transport it into the country, so its price is usually higher than the state-run price. So, since it's expensive, people travel only as far as their money will take them. Otherwise, they have to cover the rest of the way on foot. This usually means walking long distances, 1 kilometer, 5 kilometers, 15 kilometers. From here, the Vedado neighborhood to Old Havana, from the Vedado to the Marianao neighborhood, on foot, round trip. And that's quite painful for the population.
There are two categories. The formal market, which includes a group of MSMEs that have been authorized to sell fuel to third parties, and can therefore sell it to other MSMEs, foreign companies, and legal entities, which is completely legal. And then there is the informal market. Based on our assessment, the informal market currently has no other way of operating than to resell fuel that another MSME imported legally at some point. In other words, an MSME that imports, let's say, 25,000 liters for itself, because it has the financial resources to do so, but will use a portion of that fuel to sell to a third party who, let's say, will buy half of that isotank, and then resell it, without a license, without a permit, completely illegally.
With the average government salary around $10 a month, most of the island's 9 million residents cannot afford the fuel. In February, the Cuban government authorized private businesses to import fuel for their own use for the first time. By late July, nearly 200 companies had received permission for wholesale distribution. Authorities also approved the first foreign investment venture dedicated to importing and selling fuel, though retail sales at state gas stations remain restricted. Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel has denounced what he calls Washington's genocidal siege and insisted.
Oh, that nigga in on it. Look at that shit. Coming to America, all that trash building up, because they ain't got enough fuel to run the what they call them things, the trash trucks. They ain't got enough diesel to run them trash trucks. And then people just throwing trash out in the streets.
Economic reforms are not intended to please the United States. The U.S. State Department says it recognizes Cubans' humanitarian needs while blaming Cuban officials for mismanagement. For many ordinary Cubans, the limited supplies of expensive American fuel prevent total paralysis. But as one sociologist noted,
yeah, punishment for you Israelites, you Manasserites, and other tribes that's scattered in Cuba. Hey man, but hey, it's gonna be punishment for a whole lot of you Israelites scattered all over the world when the Lord started to turn the knob a little bit more. Yeah, he turned that knob up to get hotter and hotter. Eventually, that knob ain't gonna be turned. It ain't gonna be able to turn. Well, I don't know how high the Lord gonna turn the knob, the heat on you Israelites, but it's gonna get to the point where it's gonna get bad out here.
noted, they also
That's all I can say.
further entrench inequalities across the island.
The issue of energy is making a difference. In fact, it's increasing inequalities, or reinforcing them, so to speak. So I think that when you conduct studies like this on everyday life, it becomes clear that although this issue of access to energy, for lighting, cooking, and refrigeration, had already been developing for about 2 years, and people had already begun taking individual measures, such as installing their own generators. But starting this year, with the Trump administration's measures and the situation in Venezuela, that is, the cutoff of the country's access to oil, it has become extremely evident.
Instala generadores propios y tal, pero a partir de este año, con las medidas de la administración Trump, la problemática de Venezuela, es decir, este corte de acceso a petróleo del país.
Alright, well, anyway, seek the Lord, seek Yahweh Shem Shah, not no Jesus Christos, not no Jeebus punk ass Christ, none of that shit. But Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, it's about to get bad worldwide. Look at this next one. Is it Syria? Fuel crisis there.
Unlike some
بالنسبة للتكاسل العمومي كثير متضررة من سواء من البنزين أو من الشركات اللي دخلت جديد على البلد. في عندنا مشكلة كثير كبيرة إنه نحن إذا ما اشتغلنا ما فينا نعيش قولا واحدا. يعني أنت شو ما اشتغلت بالنهاية في عندك شيء اسمه مصروف سواء للسيارة أو للبيت أو بشكل عام مصروف شخصي. فهاي الحالات كلها عم تكون عبء علينا. بتجينا أزمة البنزين بتكون عبء زيادة كمان. هلا الازمه هلا صار لها شي 4-5 ايام هاي، بس عمليا هي بتتراوح ما بين انه مثلا بعد احيان بتكون ازمه قاسيه وما بين انه بتكون خفيفه، شو السبب مو معروف. يعني الازمه ما انه مثلا هي ازمه مقصوده وازمه لازم تتسبب فيها كل البلد، مو معروف شو السبب يعني الصراحه يعني انت مين مساله ما حدا بيجاوبك بشكل صحيح.
لازم هالسنه صرنا نكرر 4-5 مرات، عم نوقف كل مره 3-4 ساعات لحتى نعبي. اذا ما عبينا بدنا نوقف اجباري، ما بنشتغل، بدنا نوقف لحتى نعبي اجباري يعني كان نشتغل. ما يعني ما عندنا علم نحن بشيء بنوب، فما بنلاقي الا غير لك فجاه صار في ازمه على الكاديات. يعني ما
I forgot. You ain't got no subtitles. Shit. What the hell?
ما عندنا علم بشيء بنوب والله.
Well, they were showing subtitles up from the first guy, so I thought it was cool.
فجاه ما بنلاقي غير صار ازمه هيك على الكاديات.
Alright. Let's get to the next video. Who's this? Nigeria cost 11 deepens. Say that. Oh yeah. Running on empty. Huge petrol quarries. Grip Damascus in Syria. This is the same damn, look at Syria. Play that anyway. Yeah, it's the same damn clips. Yep, same damn clips. Anyway, let me trash this one, cause it's the same damn clips. Just the one I was playing was about 6 or 7 minutes longer than the other one. Let's go and get to this one. Cost of, what's it, the cost? I'll just play it, fuck it. I ain't gonna do all that reading.
Мы сейчас обновляем парк, у нас много китайцев, но решили последнее приобретение делать. Мы смогли очень оперативно перестроить нашу логистику, отказались сейчас от дальнемагистральных рейсов, мы теперь не ходим по регионам Российской Федерации, да, оставляем, скажем так, партнерам и конкурентам топливо на местах и организуем доставку на коротких отрезках, на плечах внутри Московской области и до ближайших портов. Внутри Московского региона, в принципе, проблем с топливом уже нет. В то время как в Новосибирской области, в Краснодарском крае, в Забайкальском крае и цена намного выше топлива, и по-прежнему есть ограничения по заправке. Если у нас топливо за последний месяц подорожало на 16-18%, то это отразилось на себестоимости примерно на 4,5-5,5%. И, конечно, компания, считая свою маржинальность, она вынуждена экономить. Поэтому водители, уведомляют друг друга, да, какие-то карты, какие-то телеграм-каналы есть, где они обмениваются информацией, где заправиться можно, где очереди меньше, где выбросили большую партию. Ощущение, что процент, скажем так, продаж через маркетплейсы будет снижаться в ближайшее время. Это связано и с атаками, это связано и с общей себестоимостью, да, работы через эти каналы. В связи с потерями, которые были, да, за последние дни, многие будут урезать сейчас графики закупок, потому что заемными деньгами закупки делать дорого, своего оборота может не хватать, недополученная прибыль и потери от пожара этого, безусловно, они скажутся на бюджетах компаний. сейчас мы наблюдаем за очередной, наверное, волной исхода некоторых компаний. К сожалению, мы видим достаточно большое количество объявлений о том, что продают доли, о том, что продают бизнес, потому что собственники даже при хорошо выстроенных процессах просто могут не справляться с той лизинговой нагрузкой, которая случилась.
If you want to play the rest of it and read the subtitles, be my guest. Well, let me add this in here. More plagues. Man, so much going on, bruh. And we got some more videos about war. We got Russia bumping heads with India, I'm guessing. What is this? Russia turns to India for gasoline and Ukraine hits refineries. Oh, well, Russia's going to India. Well, let's play that real quick. Since we still talking about what other countries are doing right now. Let's get that.
Why do I reach for the new 3-in-1 Rejuvenate Power Max Spray Mop? Because it sweeps, mops, and scrubs like this.
Russia is now reportedly turning to India for gasoline as Ukrainian attacks on Russian oil refineries create a growing fuel shortage inside the country. This is a significant development because Russia has long been a major exporter of refined fuels. However, after repeated Ukrainian strikes damaged refineries and reduced processing capacity, Moscow is reportedly forced to look farther abroad to keep its domestic fuel market supplied. Data from Kepler shows that Russia received its first known shipment of gasoline from India on August 5th. The fuel has been linked to Nayara Energy, an Indian refiner partly owned by Russia's top oil producer Rosneft. The first cargo was loaded at Nayara's refinery in Vadinar on India's western coast in June. A Russian-flagged tanker called Cyclone loaded about 42,000 tons of gasoline there on June 18th. The cargo was then moved to an Oman-flagged vessel at Damietta off Egypt's Mediterranean coast on July 6th. Garnet later reached Russia in early August. Now, if you look at the route itself, it tells us something about the pressure Russia's fuel market is facing. Shipping fuel directly from India to Russia is a long and complicated journey. The use of ship-to-ship transfers can also make the trade route more complex, with cargoes moving between different vessels before reaching their final destination. And this may not have been a one-off shipment. Kepler data indicates that additional Indian gasoline could be heading towards Russia, and that the pattern also reveals the centrality of Damietta.
The final destination of Talisman and Beast remain unconfirmed, but the emerging trading pattern suggests Damietta's TS hub continues to facilitate the movement of Indian-origin gasoline toward Russian import channels.
But why does Russia need Indian gasoline in the first place? The answer lies in Ukraine's intensifying campaign against Russia's energy infrastructure. Ukrainian attacks have targeted multiple Russian refineries, reducing the country's ability to turn crude oil into refined products, such as gasoline and diesel. According to reports, Russia's crude oil processing rate fell to about 3.6 million barrels a day in July. That was around one-third below the seasonal norm. And the pressure has continued. According to reports, Ukraine attacked 5 Russian processors last week and at least 2 more this week. The consequence is a growing gap between the amount of fuel Russia can produce domestically and what its market needs. That is important because Moscow has even taken steps to protect its own supplies. Russia has restricted exports of both gasoline and diesel so that...
I'm going to stop right there because I got a whole lot of other videos to talk about. Because, you can do the math. All the videos I'm playing, you can already figure it out that, what is this? I might well get this one too. Well, yeah, man, you can do the math and say, with all this fuel shortage, it's going to disrupt the supply chain from everything that comes with food, because you need fuel, gasoline, or diesel, mostly diesel, to produce food, to produce food, transport food, and any other medicines and all that stuff. And plus, you need diesel to run your power plants or either haul. If you're using natural gas, well, guess what? You need something to haul natural gas, which would be diesel. You get natural gas overseas, and it got to be on a boat. Well, that boat runs on diesel, not natural gas. I don't know. Do they have natural gas boats? Probably not. But you still need oil. You still need oil. Yeah, you need oil to run those engines, keep them engines lubricated. Hey, anyway, it's going to be a big problem for a lot of people worldwide. Oh, yeah, another video about Russia. And I just played one about Russia. Hey, and this one too. Yeah, anyway, they're going to play this one.
Fuel shortages are once again...
I just noticed I played 3 videos related to Russia. Just noticed them.
Emerging in Moscow after a series of Ukrainian drone strikes on Russian oil infrastructure. While queues have returned at petrol stations and some outlets reporting shortages of specific fuel grades. The situation is not yet critical, but the disruption is being felt by drivers and taxi operators.
Right now, as you can see for yourselves, the lines are starting to build up again. And notice that petrol prices aren't coming down. They're actually going up.
While Ukraine last week struck a major refinery in Yaroslav, north of Moscow, raising fresh concerns about the impact of fuel supplies in the capital. The shortages come after a wider fuel crunch earlier this summer, when around 90% of Russia's regions introduced limits on fuel purchases.
My point is simply that the Yaroslavl refinery is the largest one around. What happens if it stops operating? A huge amount of our petrol used to come right from Yaroslavl. If that plant shuts down, then what? It means we'll be facing gridlock and bottlenecks all over again.
While the pressure on Russia's fuel market is closely linked to repeated attacks on its refining infrastructure. Analysts cited by Bloomberg estimate that Russian crude processing fell to around 3.6 million barrels per day in July. Russia has responded by restricting fuel exports through the end of 2026 and imposing rationing measures in several regions. Now, the timing is significant here, with the summer travel season and agricultural activity increasing demand for fuel. At the same time, petrol prices remain elevated. To plug the supply gap, Russia has increasingly turned to imports. Its first shipment of gasoline from India arrived on August 5th. According to Kepler data cited by Bloomberg, a Russian flag tanker had loaded around 42,000 tons of gasoline in India in June before the fuel was transferred through a chain of tankers. Russia had previously relied mainly on imports from Belarus and Kazakhstan. The latest Indian shipments highlight how Ukraine's attacks are increasingly affecting Russia's domestic fuel market, from refinery operations to petrol pumps in Moscow.
On to America now. Let's see what they got to say.
Hey, it's Dan. Welcome back to iAllegedly. I've got a good one for you. We do business and finance news 7 days a week, guys, and I'm in Pismo Beach right now. Oh, it's nice. You know, one thing that's interesting is living in Southern California, near a bunch of resort towns, Disneyland, and the beaches, and destination areas, is when you go to a different one, like this, you catch certain vibes of certain things that sell and work and don't work, and that's fascinating. I mean, everybody here has been great, really, really polite and fun, but everybody has the same struggles right now. And we have a very serious warning. The warning is in regards to our oil supply. Think about this. We have only 43 days of oil in our strategic reserves. 43 days. That's it. The ongoing war that we've had in the Middle East has caused a huge problem. Now remember, I thought we were the #1 oil producer on the planet Earth, blah, blah, blah. The only problem with that is, if we are, why are we having such a difficult time with our strategic reserves? So, 45-year low of oil. Think about this. I mean, when you hear about that, earlier this week I spoke about cattle reserves and how we're at a 50-year low for the amount of the heads of cattle in the United States, and now we're at a 45-year low for oil. That is crazy. Absolutely crazy. You need to make sure that your car is filled up. You're going to see prices spike. There is nothing that they're going to do to fix this anytime soon, and it's going to make prices just go through the flipping roof. And here in California, $8 a gallon is going to be very common. We've talked about $12 a gallon. We've talked about 10. I mean, easily you could see where gas goes to $15 a gallon. So, just beautiful out here. Very little waves, great place to swim. But Michael Wirth, we talked about Shell a couple weeks ago, how they issued a warning, the CEO. Michael Wirth, the CEO of Chevron, he steps forward again and basically said, I want to reiterate what the Shell CEO said, and just talked about the lack of oil and how people need to prepare themselves, because they don't see anything getting fixed anytime soon. Now, the worst part about this is that the refineries say that they're working at 95 to 97% capacity right now, and they're worried about running out of raw product to produce. Wow, okay? That's enough. One thing that we've covered over the last few years that's kind of interesting is businesses that want to go no cash. And the latest, and I love this when it gets sent to me, a popular restaurant just got rid of cash. Wingstop. You eat at Wingstop? Does any...
Yeah, going cashless. You're getting close to that chip implant, the mark of the beast.
Does anybody sit there and go, oh my gosh, honey, let's go to Wingstop? It is kids, and it is football, people that want to watch football and things like that. And again, wings and chicken fingers. That's it. But they want to go with the restaurant of the future, which is no cash, which is insane. Now, think about this. New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island, it's amazing that I remember all this stuff, have laws that said you have to take a cash transaction. Now, there are also cities that have these laws that say, hey, listen, you can't, turn down cash. And the idea of this is it's designed for the poorest community and the elderly. So as you do this, you want to be able to take money. Isn't it, oh, no, we don't want your money. So Wingstop, again, they're getting yelled at by customers. People show up and don't have a card. The guy grabs cash. Read the story below because it's comical and funny, but it's like, I think it's terrible. I really...
All right, now he's getting to another topic, I believe. Yeah, he's getting to another topic.
Check this out.
Let me go to the next video. Yeah, he getting into some other topic. See what this dude got to say. I thought this video was gonna be long.
There's this mysterious new large seller in the market, and we don't know.
Nah, I thought it was gonna be long, but it looked like, oh shit, they are serious. Hey man, wait a minute now. Yesterday, this is Forbes. Yesterday I did a video regarding what was it? USS Abraham Lincoln. Talking about people, I don't know, they didn't verify that people actually was killing each other on the boat, but they're talking about and this is, I guess, Forbes. Breaking news is Western media. Yeah, mainstream, I know that for sure, but they're talking about this report on a video saying that mental health crisis aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln as U.S. sailors mark more than 260 days at sea. Yeah. Yeah, and then they probably going crazy. They probably damn killing each other. They said it was supposedly, allegedly stabbing motherfuckers. I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. Show you how much America is so fucking through.
Who it is. That is a mysterious thing because that's not somebody doing price discovery. You know this. That's somebody who's clearly intent on setting prices, not discovering prices.
Recently, the president of Chevron and Exxon are warning what's going on at the refinery level, the throughput. They're just, we could have some shortages in diesel and jet fuel.
You got CEO saying this. They might not be accurate, but something's going on. So hey, at any moment, at any time, shit can go down. Better seek the Lord.
We're at like 96, 97% capacity utilization. Nobody's maintaining, which means we don't have much margin for error right now.
You're watching the Financial Sense News Hour. Financial news for high net worth investors and strategists. When it comes to the biggest investment trends and understanding the market, we've been...
What the fuck is this?
Chris, you were on Tucker Carlson talking about Sunday future markets. Let's talk about that because I'm seeing the same thing that you're seeing.
Yeah, so, it was even noted early in March in Financial Times. They had an article and they were talking to one of the big traders at one of the big oil bourses, and they said, there's this mysterious new large seller in the market, and we don't know who it is. And so, if anybody's been in the biz, everybody knows everybody, right? It's not like there's a billion oil traders out there. The big houses all know each other. They have trading footprints. They kind of know each other's patterns. There's a whole rhythm and cadence to it. And then suddenly in March, this new mystery seller stepped in. Wink, wink, we can all kind of guess who that might have been. And so that presence has been there for a while. And we noted, Jim, it's the same thing we saw in silver markets and many other commodity markets for years. You get into your overnight, very thinly traded markets, 2:29 in the morning, and in a single 1 minute tick, you might see, 3,000 or 4,000 oil contracts suddenly get sold. And the normal volume would have been, say, anywhere from 50 to 150 contracts in that market. So we're talking 30, 40 times volume, and always to the downside, right? And so that is a mysterious thing because that's not somebody doing price discovery. You know this, right? If you were a legit trader or you're an oil company and you really actually want to future hedge some product, you don't go out there and just like an elephant stepping on some china, just crush it into a 1 minute tick market at 2 in the morning. So that's somebody who's clearly intent on setting prices, not discovering prices. And they've been very intent on discovering or setting prices at a much lower level. And it's pretty open secret now. People see it. We're all commenting on it. And I, for one, think it's a very bad idea. I do not believe in central planning for markets. I think that you need...
I ain't gonna hear this shit. Let me end the video with this. It was from the Infograph show and see what they got to talk about. The oil reserves is dead and the American economy is doomed. Yes, I like the sound of that. But if you want to watch the rest of this, these two Edomite looking niggas talking, and here go the title of it, the video, there go the channel. Let's close it out with this one. I'm getting to, matter of fact, let me get the scriptures now before yeah, let me get the scriptures. So this is affecting the whole world with this war. I guess what started off, kicking off with what's going on in the Straits of Hormuz with Iran and America, and it's affecting a lot of people. Yep, a lot of people around the world say shit is a plague, man. Anyway, that's why you Israelites need to seek the Lord no matter where you at, whatever kind of tongue you speak of. And if you can't even hear, you're a mute. Hey man, you got brothers teaching His word and they're mutes. And no, they actually ain't mute. They just deaf. I take that back. You got some brothers that they can speak, but they don't know what they're saying or hear themselves speaking. But they be brothers they're prophesying. They deaf, but when they speak, they say Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shah. Yeah, and I know they can't hear themselves speak, but they can clearly say it. But that's amazing, bro. The Lord is real, man. Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shah real, and it's gonna get really bad out here if you don't seek the Lord. I mean, it's gonna get really bad if you seek the Lord or don't seek the Lord. I mean, damn, that's my mistake. It's gonna get bad regardless, but it'd be best for you to seek the Lord and pray like heaven, the Lord have mercy on you. You don't get caught up in all this destruction and all this calamity. But 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 37, behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack, because it's gonna build up with so many plagues when they break the bad news, or either shit, they ain't gonna tell you nothing. I don't think, like over here in America, I don't think they're going to tell you shit. It's going to be too late anyway. But they ain't going to tell you shit anyway. It's going to be up to you to figure it out that you're fucked. The oil, and then plus prices going up. The diesel and gas, it's up to you to figure it out to say that, damn, we're fucked. Yeah. You won't be if you seeking the Lord. But, hey, all these plagues are going to create so many problems. Oh, no, the fuel... The lack of fuel and the price of fuel is going to go so high and it's going to create so many problems. You'll figure it out. I ain't going to keep talking about it. It's going to create problems. I mean, I'll bring it up once, try to at once, but you'll figure it out. It's going to create a lot of problems. But anyway, 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 37, behold, the plague draw nigh and are not slack, as when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son, with 2 or 3 hours of her birth pain, her birth great pains compares a wound which pains. When the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment. Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth. And the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side. So yeah, man, this is affecting a lot of people when it comes to this fuel. And the prices going up from diesel, gasoline, but diesel is the most critical fuel ever to be used in the world. And when that shit going up, or either they just say this ain't going to civilians, guess what? They're gonna be famine, they're gonna be pestilence, they're gonna be outages of electricity, no internet, none of that shit. Look what's going on in Cuba. That's a damn good example right there. Just wait, it's gonna be worldwide. First world nations, greatest country in the world, America. Yeah, your ass is next. Let's get to the next one, then I'm going to get to that last video. 2nd Ezra, chapter 16, verse 17. Woe is me, who will deliver me in them days? It's going to be so bad. Ezra see the vision, and he like, damn, who going to save me? It's going to be Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shah. They're going to have to say, well, Yahweh Shah saving you, but through the spirit and the power of Yahweh, the will of Yahweh. Yeah, but the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, that's what's going to be going on. The beginning of wars, World War III, class wars, civil wars, race wars, fighting over resources like gas and diesel, water, food, anything, or anyone, like children, women. And these people, hey man, it's going to get bad out here. And the power shall stand in fear. It's gonna be so bad that the wicked elite gonna hide in their bunkers. Why you think these niggas talk about that shit so much? They ain't just got bunkers just to buy like it's a mansion or a luxury vehicle or plane like it's a new toy. No, they buying bunkers for their survival. Meanwhile, you people gonna be on the surface where fighting for your lives to survive. Yep. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine, plague, tribulation, anguish are sent for scourges for amendment, but for all these things they shall not turn for their wickedness, nor be mindful of their scourges. So don't be them type of people that ain't taking here. They don't want to hear it. What's being said, being warned, especially by the prophecy, how about Shema Shah telling you what to do and who to seek for protection. And that be Yahweh Shema Shah. They're not gonna care. They're gonna cling on to their jeebus till they lose faith in that nigga, or a Buddha or Allah and all them monkey ass niggas. They gonna lose faith in all that shit, and that's gonna be it. Even Satan, these niggas here worshiping Satan. They gonna lose faith in Satan. I never heard of somebody losing faith in Satan though. Ain't that some shit? Yeah. Anyway, let's get to this last one.
When it comes to earplugs, having choice matters.
3 days. That's how long your grocery store lasts if diesel trucks stop moving today. You probably think the government has a backup plan. It doesn't. Officials already drained 172 million barrels from the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve in early 2026. It's now at its lowest level since 1983, and they're refilling it at a fraction of the speed they emptied it. America's emergency oil cushion is thinner than it's been in over 4 decades. And while you're just one disruption away from empty shelves, the biggest oil companies in the world are cashing out. Imagine stepping inside a grocery store in the middle of one of the biggest and busiest cities on the planet, only to find empty shelves. No bread, no milk, no fruit. Now imagine that same scenario playing out all over the globe. In New York, London, Tokyo, stores that are usually a hive of activity and filled with groceries are
first world nations, well-developed countries. There's many others, but
are stripped.
They talking about America, London, and Japan, or London, England, UK. Pretty much that's like, what is it? The Trilateral Commission or some shit? When you got those 3 countries, let me see. What is the Trilateral? I think it's 3 of them niggas. What is the Trilateral Commission? Yeah. When you got North America and Europe. Really, the head of Europe be, let's say the UK, and North America head be the America, and Asian Pacific, that's pretty much Japan. Because Japan takes control over that area, because they're like the white man of the East. Salaki. Yep. Originally, just Japan. Yeah. It says Asian Pacific is pretty much Japan. But anyway.
There. It sounds like a scene from a Hollywood disaster movie, a post-apocalyptic world with no hope. Except that reality might be closer than you realize. Because this is exactly what would happen if the critical but incredibly fragile logistics system powering major urban centers suddenly collapses. It's known as the just-in-time system, and once you understand it, your entire view of how big cities function may change forever. Most people think there are giant warehouses packed with endless supplies, ready to refill empty grocery shelves at a moment's notice. The reality is completely different. Modern cities work like funnels. Food and everyday essentials flow in, get bought almost immediately, and disappear just as fast. It's an efficient system, but not a resilient one. Most major cities have only about 3 to 5 days of physical food inventory before the shelves run dry.
Yeah, basically whatever you got, wherever the store got on the shelf, that's all they got. And that's it. There ain't gonna be nothing in the back. Now they do sometimes have some shit in the back. Sometimes. Cause I used to work at the grocery store. They have some stuff in the back, but they plan on that stuff in the back to go out front. They could be overstocked if they have it in the back. They'll be overstocked. They don't have enough room. They order too much of this product. They'll have it in the back sitting on a pallet. Or sometimes they'll have it in the back, not because they're overstocked, because somebody don't feel like stocking them up. I'm like, fuck that shit, nigga. I'm like, man, fuck that shit. Anyway.
The rest has to arrive on board heavy-duty trucks traveling hundreds of miles across the country on a daily basis. In other words, there isn't some secret warehouse waiting to save the day. Your grocery store survives because trucks keep showing up day after day without fail. The moment those
when I was working at the grocery store overnight, I asked people, some people, can you imagine? I was like, can you imagine this store being empty? These niggas couldn't. I mean, these motherfuckers are so fucking stupid. They couldn't give out an answer. I was like, goodness, great. They could talk about any fucking thing else, but they could not answer the question about. Can you imagine this grocery store being empty because of, you know, that was the beginning at that time. That was when I was working there overnight. That was the beginning of war with Iran and America with Israel, and I was like, yo, can you imagine if they keep up with this fighting and shit, and it slows the production of oil and, you know, diesel and other commodities, it can, you know, affect the food too. And you think that if it gets to the extreme, that it could cause the grocery stores to go empty because of, you know, you get what I'm trying to say. They don't know. They like, they don't want to answer the question. I was like, man, y'all a bunch of dumb motherfuckers. I'm glad I ain't in it. Hey, man, be thankful to the Lord. Open up your eyes, see, and your ears to hear, and your brain cells to be active, man. Because these people are fucking stupid. And stay the fuck away from them, man. When this shit go down, these niggas are gonna be the most dangerous individuals in the world. Yeah. I would think you probably have a better chance reasoning with a hungry bear than a damn wild ass human that's high on GMO food. You probably would have a better chance surviving fighting a wild 1,000-pound grizzly bear. I don't know about fighting them, but I don't know. I'm just talking shit. Cause these people are fucking stupid. And they high on GMOs and on vaccine shots. Goodness gracious, these niggas are fucking retarded. Anyway.
Trucks are delayed, disrupted, or stop altogether. The illusion of abundance disappears, and it breaks down quickly. If the just-in-time system fails, major metropolitan centers could literally
ain't got no medicine, nigga, sick as hell. Oh well.
Really run out of food in 72 hours. That's less time than it takes to get over a common cold. The moment the wheels stop turning, the countdown begins. On day 1, deliveries that were supposed to arrive fail to show. By day 2, localized panic starts to spread. Shoppers rush to their local stores and snatch up whatever supplies they can get. By day 3, everything is gone. We've been trained to believe that something like
the storehouses shall suddenly be found empty.
This could never happen. We trust.
When these people keep thinking it, you keep thinking it can happen. Be in that mindset to say it can happen and it will happen. There ain't no stopping it. That's why you seek the Lord. But these people, they keep thinking, oh, it will never happen. Okay.
Trust the system. We shouldn't.
Oh man, my sound went out. I got to recharge the speaker. These people are stupid.
Line in. Every item you buy, every piece of food you eat is all dependent on a logistics network that is entirely dependent on a constant supply of fuel. Without the fuel, the food stops moving. That's when people look for a backup, a fail-safe, an emergency system that's been put in place by the government to kick in and save the day.
There is none. Especially not from the United States of America or Amalek. The only safety there, the backup system there is for Amalek only. Those bunkers. And the elite, they have their backup. Those bunkers. While the world goes bunkers up top, they're going to be in their bunkers at the bottom.
And there is, but unfortunately, it's already been raided. The U.S. government wasn't blind to
raided? What?
The risks of the logistics system. It's realized that if there ever was some sort of global
From the #1 rated brand in cordless outdoor power, the Ego 22-inch aluminum
global oil crisis or fuel shortage, transportation networks could break down and millions of Americans would be at risk of starvation. So it set up a safety net, the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve, or SPR. It acts as a buffer against a fuel supply crisis, ensuring that there is enough emergency petroleum to keep vehicles moving and transport networks operational. Other countries have similar strategic reserves, but the U.S. has always been one of the biggest. At full capacity, it can hold 714 million barrels, stored deep inside gigantic underground salt caverns along the Gulf Coast of Texas and Louisiana. Now those caverns are nowhere near full. They're not even half full. As of late June 2026, the U.S. SPR held barely 330 million barrels, the lowest level in more than 40 years. You have to go all the way back to 1983 to find the reserve this depleted. For decades, the government steadily built this emergency buffer, stockpiling hundreds of millions of barrels. Then almost overnight, a huge chunk of it was gone. In early March, the government authorized the release of 172 million barrels. This was a direct response to the war in Iran, which had led to skyrocketing oil prices after the Iranian military effectively closed the Strait of Hormuz. 20% of the world's oil supply came to a dramatic halt. This was the sort of situation that the SPR was made for. The massive emergency release managed to provide some level of short-term relief to global energy markets, but the biggest issue
They all smiling. They're like, yeah, I'm getting my gas. Jake, like, I got a booty call. I'm about to go get some coochie. This guy here, I don't know where he gotta go. He probably gonna go and smoke some tweed or something. They like, yeah, we happy. And then
isn't how quickly
I'm just
the
making up shit.
reserve was depleted, but how slow it is to
They feeling the gas, looking all happy and simple. They don't even know what the fuck is going on.
fill back up. The physics and economics involved with replenishing such a vast reserve are more complicated than opening valves to empty it. Bureaucrats are trying to buy back crude oil and pump it back into the Gulf Coast salt caverns, but they're not doing it fast enough. The current refill rate is approximately 10 times slower than the million-barrel-a-day drawdown rate witnessed in 2022. It's like having one person draining a lake using a fire hose while someone else tries to refill it with a tiny bucket. The numbers don't work. If this pace continues, it could take years to bring the SPR back up anywhere close to its maximum capacity. That doesn't mean that the U.S. has run out of oil or lost its crisis buffer entirely, but that buffer is significantly thinner and weaker than it was just a few years ago. That means the margin of error is far smaller than it has been in decades, because the safety net is riddled with holes. We don't have to guess or estimate what happens next. We've already seen this exact same scenario play out before. In 2022, Sri Lanka experienced a sharp, violent collapse that brought the entire nation to its knees. When the country's usable foreign exchange reserves dropped to near zero levels, it effectively found itself unable to service its $58.7 billion external debt. As a result, it defaulted on its debt payments for the first time in history. To make matters worse, the Sri Lankan government was no longer able to afford essential imports, including food, fuel, medicine, and fertilizer. This led to nationwide shortages of vital resources. Literally overnight, shipments of petroleum and other products and materials stopped. The nation's distribution network collapsed almost instantly. Without fuel, it was no longer possible to move goods from place to place. Food rotted in the fields since there were no trucks around to transport it to markets and grocery stores. The absence of fertilizer also meant that agricultural yields began to drop. People were forced to spend hours or even days waiting in miles-long queues to buy what little petrol remained. They were also dealing with the daily rolling blackouts that lasted up to 13 hours at a time because there wasn't enough fuel for the country's power plants. Schools closed down, hospitals postponed treatments and surgeries. The cost of simple staple items skyrocketed. By September 2022, year-on-year food inflation had reached an eye-watering 94.9%. The cost of a basic meal effectively doubled in a single year. The people of Sri Lanka had to deal with the cost of sustenance and survival rising faster than a hyperinflating currency. And it's not as though their wages were rising too. People were earning the same amount or even less than before, but somehow had to stretch their budgets twice as far. Over 6 million Sri Lankans fell into food insecurity, unsure when or where their next meal would come. More than 60% of households resorted to coping strategies, like skipping meals or eating smaller portions to get by. This is why a fuel crisis quickly becomes a food crisis. Sri Lanka provided the perfect example of what happens to your wallet when the fuel stops flowing. When a country runs out of fuel, it also runs out of food. Whatever food that's left over becomes a luxury asset with a far higher price. You might think that Sri Lanka was a one-off, an anomaly, an isolated occurrence of economic mismanagement in a developing nation. Something like this wouldn't happen in the Western world. You would be wrong. The same systemic vulnerabilities that caused the Sri Lanka crisis also exist in the US, the UK, and other nations, regardless of their status or economic standing. The idea that richer countries can reduce their risk by transitioning toward a stronger and smarter system is fundamentally flawed. We're constantly told that new technology is about to solve our biggest problems, that the next breakthrough will make our lives easier.
Hell, the new technology, you need damn fuel, you need oil to run these motherfuckers, not the robot. I mean, to keep AI powered up and all that shit, and especially AI data centers, you need oil. Yeah, and that'd be diesel. Them power plants, they just run off of damn diesel. Yeah. Anyway, and to charge these robots, you need electricity that comes from the power plants that runs off diesel.
Safer and less vulnerable to crises. Like electric vehicles, they're supposed to be the solution to our dependence on oil.
Yeah, because dependence on oil. I mean, they're not coming from the sun. Hell, they're charging them up with it. No, they're getting charged up through them power plants that's powered by diesel.
Year, there are more EVs in driveways, more electric SUVs on the highway, and more headlines predicting the end of the gas-powered car. The age of oil is ending.
No, that's wrong.
is a myth, and the data proves it. Yes, global sales of electric vehicles are rising and even breaking records in many countries. Yes, governments are setting out plans to phase out vehicles with internal combustion engines and offer incentives so people buy EVs. But as of June 2026, electric vehicles make up just 5% of the global passenger...
I ain't gonna play no more of this. Anyway, if you want to watch the rest of this video, be my guest. That go to title of the video, that go to channel. And they talking about EVs. I'm like, man, so what? Anyway. Yeah, I'm about to close out, but it's about to get bad out here. Jacob Trouble is here, but it ain't 9,000 RPM to the engine blow up, but it soon will be, and they're gonna be all out World War III, fighting for resources, and people gonna be fighting for resources themselves. If it's food, water, some source of power, electricity, fuel, gas, diesel, whatever, bullets, whatever, people. Anyway, anything that people find is some kind of comfort. Anyway, amen. For you Israelites, seek the Lord and be serious about it, but seek the Lord by seeking His prophets and taking heed to what they say, and try to build a spiritual mental relationship with Yahweh Shema Shah by praying Yahweh Shema Shah, praising Yahweh Shema Shah, worshiping Yahweh Shema Shah, fearing Yahweh Shema Shah, and repenting Yahweh Shema Shah. To all the men out there pushing this truth and nothing but the truth, in the name, spirit, and the power of Yahweh Shema Shah, keep on preaching, keep on teaching, keep your faith and trust strong, Yahweh Shema Shah, and stay humble. And same for the men who ain't preaching and teaching, but they're just keeping their faith and they trust strong in Yahweh Shema Shah. I'm talking about y'all, the believers, male believers, and you sisters, you females. Yeah, I forgot what's the Hebrew name or Hebrew word for. I think it's is it Akim? Aqua. I can't remember. But anyway, man, I got a bad memory. But anyway, for the few sisters out there taking heed, keep your faith and trust strong. Yahweh Shema Shah, stay humble and stay in order with your man. If you ain't got no man, stay in order. Yahweh Shema Shah, you should stay in order with Yahweh Shema Shah, even if you got a man or not. Anyway, but and stay humble and stay in order with your man. And if you ain't got a man, stay in order. Yahweh Shema Shah. Once again, I had to say it twice so I can remember what I'm supposed to say afterwards. But peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, and all praises to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shah. Shalom.